A nuclear family is it's like a mom and dad, children. It's usually like the first marriage, but it's typically like a heterosexual family.
A nuclear family is a family that consists of like a mom and a dad, like two parents, and then their children.
A nuclear family is pretty much your standard 2.5 kids, white picket fence, mom and dad, barbecues, and all that jazz.
A nuclear family usually consists of your parents and then your siblings.
A non-typical family is any family that's not a nuclear family. They call them like blended families. It's usually like remarriage, and you're bringing kids in from another marriage, and just anything that's not a nuclear family.
So a non-traditional family would probably include divorced parents, broken families, or step parents, adopted children, even though that sounds awful, and homosexual parents.
A non-traditional family would be like, you probably have like kids who are adopted. That sounds bad, but it's true. Or like you have like cousins who are kind of like siblings, but not really. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have, yeah, and then you have like one parent, and then you have like a step parent of some sort.
A non-typical family is a family that consists of more people than like just a mom and dad and children, or maybe two moms or two dads, something of that nature.
Families today are definitely a lot more non-traditional. I think the idea of a nuclear family is disappearing. As nice as the idea of a nuclear family is, it's just not realistic.
I think a lot of it's more non-traditional families, and a lot of families are more like divided up, and there's a lot more divorce and things like that are like separating families.
I think there are still more nuclear families than there are non-traditional, but I feel like non-traditional is definitely growing because of the more acceptance of homosexual parents, and the divorce rate is definitely rising. So I feel like the non-traditional families are definitely on the rise.
Well, I definitely think they're more non-traditional.
I think right now the media is portraying more typical or nuclear families.
Well, I think they definitely portray more traditional families. You rarely ever see like family with untraditional parts.
I think it's kind of stayed the same, but recently it's been changing, and they're gearing things more towards the traditional families.
I think definitely the media has changed. You can look at television sitcoms from like the 50s, and an example, Fathers Knows Best. It showed a nuclear family, mom, dad, son, and daughter. And today we have families that are non-typical displayed on TV. You have, families where parents are separated. You have families where parents are remarried. You have children coming in from different families. You have gay families. You have just all kinds of different types of families.
I think the media is kind of catching up with what today is doing. Like, there are more non-traditional families being filmed than there are nuclear families, so I believe that the media is portraying more non-traditional than they used to.
Well, I think it's kind of stayed the same. Yeah.
I feel like my family is both traditional and non-traditional. If you just look at my family in my house now, there's my mom, there's my dad, my sister, and me, and that's it. But then there's also my older brother who doesn't live at home, and he's from my mom's first marriage. But he doesn't live at home, so he's not really in the picture, but he's still my brother. It's just like our family is both at the same time.
So my family personally is more nuclear, except for the fact that my brother's actually only my half brother.
So I definitely have the non-traditional family. We have two combined families that came together. When I was 4 years old, my parents officially they separated. But that's actually one of the first memories I have as a kid, which is kind of sad. I remember laying in my bed, like pretending to go to sleep, but I couldn't because I could hear my parents screaming in the next room. And they were just like screaming at each other. And then they eventually brought it over to my room, and I didn't really understand why. And then the few things that I remember was that my dad said, like, I'm going to say goodbye to my child. He's like, you're not going to tell me not to. My mom kept saying, no, you're going to take her. And then he's like, no, I'm not, blah, blah, blah. So then he, like, knelt down next to my bed. I was pretending to be asleep at this point. And he gave me a kiss on my forehead, and he said, don't ever forget me, I'll see you soon. And then they went over to my brother's room, and they did the same thing. And then the next morning, when... I forget where I was going. I'm pretty sure it was my grandparents' house. But my mom was strapping me into the car, and I asked my mom, I was like, where'd Dad go? Or I probably said, like, where did Daddy go? And she said, well, he's going to be on vacation for a while. And then after that, I realized as I got older that they were separated. I didn't see my dad for a couple months. It was actually a really long time after the separation, first initial separation. But then as time went on, there were more court dates, custody stuff. First it was my mom had full custody. Then in order to try to keep that full custody, she accused my dad of abusing my brother and molesting me, which never happened. It was proved to be wrong because she dropped the charges. And then after that it progressed to shared custody. And I went to court probably like 10 times, and I was not useful, so. And then after 8th grade, I decided to move in with my dad, and that's where I am today.